Happy June 12th, 2020. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talent in Connecticut. And on today's show, we've got a good one. Former high school basketball player at Stratford, did play at Choate for his grad year, then went to Yale for quite a few years, and he has a couple interesting stories about Yale, and now plays overseas and currently is a free agent. His name, Brandon Sherrod. Brandon, I've heard so much about you from Coach Powell down at Bunnell. So finally was able to get you on, man. It's great to be able to have you on.
I appreciate you having me on. I'm really looking forward to talking to you.
I think before, and there's a lot to break down here, and we'll try to get down all of it, within the next 20 to 25 minutes. First, just kind of give me a little bit about your background and what got you into playing basketball.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't really play any organized basketball before I started in high school. I was always a decently athletic kid. I played baseball from 9 to 12, ages 9 to 12. I also played soccer before then. So I was involved in the sports scene, but never really tried basketball. And my friends, my freshman year, were like, you're one of the tallest freshmen we have at Stratford High. Why don't you try out for the team? So I ended up going, and I was trash. Like, I was shooting the ball off the backboard, dribbling off my foot, things like that. And thankfully, my coaches didn't cut me. And then I just continued working hard, and the passion kind of came from there.
Do you think, and I hate to say this, that they didn't cut you
Yeah.
because you had the height, because it seemed like you had something?
No, for real. I do think that was part of it, and I'm really grateful for that. My dad was really good friends with the JV coach, Doc Rodar, one of my guys. And I think that also helped a lot too. And I'd been introduced to the varsity coach in my band uniform, funny enough, like earlier in the year during football season. And I think that kind of helped me as well. So
Now, were you one of the tallest people as far as doing band? You had to be, right?
yeah, I was. Oh yeah, I was definitely the tallest. I had my saxophone. So they used to take us to the football games. I was a part of the marching band, and we had to wear these like red button down outfits, uniforms, and we had to play in the cold with our instruments and support our football team. That was a part of our grade. So that was me for a good part of my freshman year.
Couldn't miss you, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. For sure. For real, for real.
So during your time, you said how, obviously it was a struggle for you at first. When did you, because from what I heard from Coach Powell and from others that I talked to, you really kind of busted your butt. When did you feel like you were starting to get acclimated to the game of basketball?
I'd probably say my sophomore year. I think I lost close to 100 pounds between my freshman and sophomore year of high school. And from losing the weight, I gained a lot of athleticism. I think I had a lot of muscle underneath the fat, but once I lost it, I was moving a lot better. I felt more athletic, and I was learning the game at a much quicker pace. I was playing outside every day. So I think probably by my sophomore year, we ended up winning the state championship my sophomore year for the first time in school history. I think that's when I knew I had kind of acclimated myself to the game, that I had a lot of work to do, and there was always going to be work to do, but I had arrived, and I was starting varsity, and that was a really great moment for me, coming from a kid who was just playing freshman and JV basketball beforehand.
For somebody who was so young that lost all that weight, man, I mean, what was your diet like? Because I'm sure, when you kids, they eat a bunch of crap. I mean, they go out and
Yeah.
and everything, and pizza. You must, for someone that young to lose that much weight, the discipline is for real.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because I mean, my parents always cooked pretty healthy food. Like, my mom never let us have, like Frosted Flakes or Fruity Loops or anything like that. And I wasn't really a sweets guy, but my grandma used to just throw down all the time. So we have like biscuits, grits, eggs, bacon, sausages. I was always lit when I went to my grandma's house. But I changed my diet up just from eating fried food to baked food. So fried chicken instead of that, baked chicken. Not eating a lot of potatoes, eating rice, wild rice, and a ton of vegetables. I think to an extent it did get a little unhealthy for me when I started losing the weight and I became cognizant of it. Like, I wasn't necessarily eating as much as I probably should have been because I was so obsessed with just losing the weight and achieving this one body goal. Once I actually realized that I was losing it and people were giving me the accolades for it. So yeah, it was just a bunch of little things. Drinking more water too. I tell people all the time, like, one of the keys to staying healthy and just helping your body is water. We're literally made up of close to, I think, 70% water, and like a ton of people don't drink it in its purest form. It's like, okay, well, I'll drink soda or I'll drink a beer or like wine or something like that. But for me, drinking water has been a really, really big part of that process as well. So
Yeah, I drink 2 gallons of water a day.
Oh, that's crazy.
I need to drink water, man. I'm always thirsty.
That's awesome. 2 gallons a day. I'm not there by any means. At least a gallon a day, but two, I can't get there yet.
So that's the one thing I could see. I could say I'm better than a Division I player in one thing: drinking
There
gallons.
you go.
That's the only thing I could do. You would school me in basketball. I'll tell you that much. So, man, I really want to ask you about now your senior year. I know kind of you went through the steps. You were getting better each and every year. But your
hmm
senior year, man, you averaged 16 points per game and then 14 rebounds. I mean, it seemed like that senior year is kind of what really kind of jump-started what was a really, and it still is, a fantastic career.
Yeah, I mean, by the time I reached my senior year, I knew what I needed to do, and we were really highly touted as a team. We won the championship my sophomore year. In my junior year, we won all of our regular season games, so we thought we were going to do it again. And unfortunately, we lost in the quarters of the SWC and states. So by the time I got to my senior year, I just knew I didn't want to leave without winning another championship. And I have so many fond memories of just like, running suicides when I didn't have to, like going up and down full court, like getting layups and shooting until I was really, really tired and just never wanted to leave the gym. And, we were confident too. So I think all of that played a role into the results that we saw. And individually, it was just such like a full circle moment for me, coming from being a freshman and not being very good at all and not getting any recognition to, being able to be player of the year. It was just like an amazing situation, an amazing accolade, and something I was really grateful for.
I just want to piggyback off of that real quick because I think
hmm
it's something that a lot of young athletes today and a lot of young basketball players need to hear from a player like yourself. You became, and I don't mean this in a mean way,
Yeah,
you
no.
went from nothing basically to then
hmm
a great high school basketball player and then continuing on. What kind of advice can you give the young high school basketball players who are kind of maybe in the same situation as you were back in your freshman year?
I think a lot of guys peak during high school and or middle school. And nowadays there's always a mixtape that can be made. There's cameras everywhere. There are a lot of people who are in different athletes' ears telling them that they're great, telling them that they're not so great. And kids kind of hold on to some of these beliefs and feelings from other people and really rely, or at least I did as a kid, just really relied on other people to kind of justify or validify my abilities or validate my abilities. And so I think for a lot of high school kids, just put the work in. Like you really never know. Like there are guys who are going to be amazing their freshman and sophomore year, then they take that summer off, and then you come back and you're going to be better than them. So it's just a matter of working every day, putting yourself in the right position to be successful, listening to coaches, being respectful, and also not just focusing on basketball 100%. Like there are a bunch of other ways you can contribute to your community. And I think having balance has been really great, really helpful for me, just for easing my mind and not having me focus on the game 1,000%. But I can still get the work in. I just know that I have to be more succinct and more locked in when I am in the gym.
And the honors that you mentioned are the Gatorade and the Register, being able to get those awards. And, when you got those awards, did you feel like, okay, I understand the accomplishments on the court were one thing with the
hmm
shots and the wins and everything, but being able to get awards, I always felt like that kind of, like you mentioned earlier, being able to come full circle, all your hard work being shown in in that instance.
Yeah, man, it was really awesome. I remember my coach called me, Coach Duds from Stratford High. He called me. He was like, "Hey, you won the Gatorade State Player." I was like, "What?" Like I was really, I was really in shock. Because a lot of times too, those awards, you think they're going to go to the guys who score the most points, and I wasn't the leading scorer in Connecticut by any means.
Mm-hmm.
But I just really felt grateful. It takes a village, man. I'm nothing without the people that were in my life and that are still in my life and have got me to this point. So, I always try to keep that in mind. And I think during that period of time, it was just the relief and also a testament to all the work that I put in and the people around me I put in to help me to get there. So it felt really good, man. But we, once I got the award too, like we had the state championship to play, and I was very cognizant too of just like, okay, I have this individual award, but for me, always it's like team first. So that was the most important thing.
And it shows maturity by you as well to kind of separate yourself from two different sides because a lot of young athletes, I keep going back to that, but I broadcasted a lot of games at the high school level, and I know
hmm
there's very few athletes that I've been able to see that can separate what they do on off the court and on the court and not have to carry it. A lot of athletes, young athletes, would take those awards. Their head would be as big as the state, and then their team would suffer. Yours, on the other,
Hmm.
not, and I think that's really impressive and shows the kind of mature approach that you had at such a young age.
No, thank you. I think one thing too is like, if your team is not good, it doesn't really matter how many points you score. I think kids really forget that as well. There's, yeah. So, I mean, your team success is obviously going to lead to your success. If you're the best player on the best team, and this also goes for the pros, you're going to get a lot more recognition than a really good player on a really bad team. It just doesn't mean as much. Like the mentality has to be, the winning mindset, the winning mentality. And that's something I learned at a young age. My parents, especially my father, they were always big on kind of instilling that inside of me.
I really want to continue that because I feel like that's something that needs to be harped on. I've seen so many high school kids just jack up shots left and right, 20,
Hmm.
30, 40, 50. They try to go for the 40 points because they want to get their name mentioned either on Instagram,
Hmm.
Twitter, or in the paper. But you raise a great point. It's not about how many points you score. It's about, like you mentioned, it's the entire team. And I feel like a lot of kids lose that. I really believe that.
Yeah, man. It's we're in a society that praises individual achievement and individual accolades. And I think that a lot of times kids are just regurgitating the cycle or repeating the cycle that we see on social media, in the news, in our presidency, and a bunch of different other ways. And unfortunately, people think that that's the way to the top, or that's the easiest way to the top. Let me score 40, and then next thing I know, I'll have a D1 offer. It's like, no, if I score 15 and my team is playing really well and I'm doing the right things, I'm doing well in the classroom, I'm contributing in a number of different ways, that'll be more helpful than me just scoring 40 every night.
So you played Stratford for a number of years. You finished out your career there, and then you went to Choate for post grad. Just tell me about why you decided to go to Choate for your post grad year.
Yeah, I was undecided coming out of high school. I didn't really know where I wanted to go. I had a few offers from some schools, but I didn't take any visits aside from a visit to UMass Lowell, which is up in Lowell, Massachusetts. Nice campus. They were D2 at the time. And I went to an official visit at Sacred Heart University. And the only problem with Sacred Heart is that it's literally up the street from my house. Like, I mean, like a 2-minute drive, if that. So I remember going on my official visit. I went there. I went to some party, and then I came back home. And I just decided not to finish out my visit on campus. I didn't want to go there. So my coaches from Yale came in and said, if you go to Choate for a year, it'll help you acclimate yourself academically and also culturally to what Yale would be like. And we want you to come here, but you don't have to commit. And for me, that was a really big thing. So I had dreams of going to Georgetown University.
Mhm.
And so I ended up going to Choate, and it was an amazing experience. I mean, I met people from all over the world. I was really exposed to the differences in socioeconomic status and how that all counted in the grand scheme of things. I was also able to understand the difference between a public school education versus a private school education, and what that means and the implications that has on like a young person's life and their trajectory. And then seeing kids that started off in elementary school and their parents knew that they were going to go to an Ivy League institution, and I was a kid from Stratford High, was really, really grateful that I had the chance to go, but by no means was I trying to commit to Yale, which was just like, wild for a lot of people to hear. So it ended up being a great, great experience, and I'm really fortunate I did it. And it also gave me an extra year to kind of think about everything too, and I didn't lose any eligibility.
So it really sound like kind of gave you that maturity that otherwise maybe if you went to college, not saying that you would have been a bad kid or you would have been a troublemaker,
Hmm.
but maybe it would have taken you a lot longer to kind of get adapted to what would have been a high mature level, and maybe that could have hurt your game.
Yeah, I think academically, Ivy League schools, places like Yale, are pretty tough, and the caliber of student that goes to one of those institutions is like very high.
Mhm.
So for me, it was really just exposure. I needed that. I had a lot of friends who were very high achieving academically in high school, but it wasn't something that everyone aspired to. And then going to a place like Yale, it's very competitive. Also, Choate, very competitive. Very high pressure for a lot of kids, and kind of seeing how that all worked in the grand scheme of things, time management, how to, work through all these extracurricular activities. When I was in high school, I could do, 4 or 5 things and still be okay academically. But once I got to Yale, I realized too that, that wasn't going to be the case. And I kind of learned a little bit from being at Choate. So that was all really helpful.
Having that structure though, and being able to kind of figure out, okay, this is what I have to do at this time, that time, it really in
Hmm.
some ways prepares you for college because, I played college baseball, and the one thing was everything. You lift in the morning, you go to class, you eat, and then you either practice or you go to class and then you go to practice. And then it's like
Hmm.
basically rinse, wash, repeat over and over again.
Yep. Yep.
Prepares you for Yale and so forth.
Yeah, no, it's definitely difficult for young athletes to kind of acclimate themselves to that schedule. And some places provide more, more help than others. And I think Yale does a really good job of integrating their athletes with the rest of the student body. So there wasn't like an athlete dorm, or like I don't know, like an athlete study hall that we did. It was just, if you need help, there are tutors here, there are resources here to help you. And you want to make sure that you're performing as best you can. But it definitely was an adjustment trying to figure out, how to navigate all the practices, not being able to take a class past 4 p.m. because we had practice at 4, and things like that. So it definitely added some different barriers to the academic experience.
You strike me as the kind of person that the first couple years, even though you were not a standout player, you were kind of known from what I read as a defensive specialist, which
Hmm.
guy who loves defense in all sports. I love that kind because I feel like defense is something that's lost in all sports, in baseball and football,
Yeah.
especially in basketball, because especially
Hmm.
schools now, you can't even hand check them. You get called for.
Right.
So I feel
Right.
like that kind of game, and I was able to watch some film, and I really had to go back and try to find some.
Oh,
But
wow.
I really like how you were able to stay your ground, but your form and your position, you were well coached, man.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, my coaches from Stratford High School definitely prepped me for college. I look back and so many of the things that we did, scouting reports, drills, box out drills, proper form on, I don't know, like drop step moves in the post, and setting good screens, and making sure that you were hedging on defense. Like that all translates. And then my coach at Choate, Adam Finkelstein, who actually ran the New England Recruiting Report, he does a lot of work with ESPN recruiting now. He was, I mean, he's a big time recruiter, and also had a lot of connections with college coaches all around the country. And so working with him, he really prepped us for the college game, and in the next steps that we need to take both defensively and offensively to be successful in college. And that was really helpful.
Was there anything in particular that he did as far as preparing you on the court for what would happen when you would go to Yale?
Yeah, I mean, we had workouts, man, where if we didn't play defense the right way, he would bring up scenarios that would happen in the future. Like, okay, you didn't hedge here in college, that's a 3 in your face, and your coach is gonna now put you on the bench. Or like, you didn't box out here, and maybe it's okay right now, but then when you go into college and you're playing in the NCAA tournament, and someone's gonna go over your back and grab a rebound over your head, then you're gonna get taken out again. So it was kind of like the fear of not performing well enough, or not doing the little things that end up counting
Mm.
during the game. And he had this one quote that he would say all the time: "Be great every day." That was his one quote that he would say, and something that I always hold dear when I'm going to practices or going into games. Just like, be great, because you never know who's going to be watching. You never know when your opportunity is going to come.
That's a great quote. I mean, you were great as far as being able to, even though you weren't producing offensively, you were doing
Hmm.
what you needed defensively, which, in my opinion, then bought you time to be able to work on your game. You were able to get more minutes, get acclimated
Hmm.
to that level. And then when you finally were able to pop, you now had both sides. You had the offensive side and you had the defensive side.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of just work and opportunity. I think success is when hard work and opportunity meet. That's what my father says too. And that's something that I've always, tried to think about. It's just like, if you're not prepared, you're not ready to go at any point of your career, it's not going to work out for you. But if you're not putting the work in, then you're probably not going to even have the opportunity to show, your skill set. So that's kind of what I've tried to live off
Now, this is one thing that I thought was really cool. And I showed this to my
of.
girlfriend. She was like,
Hmm.
really cool. And I think you know what I'm going. I think you know where I'm going. In 14 and 15, you missed the season, not because you were injured, not because you were academically ineligible, because you were the oldest and best ranked color group at Yale. Please tell me about this because I thought this was
Yeah, so I was involved in a couple of musical acts during my time at Yale, and I had some friends. I played drums too, so I played drums on a couple of projects. And my friend Michael Bloom, he had just finished up his year with the Whiffenpoofs, which is the oldest all-male a cappella group at Yale, in the world, excuse me. And I remember Michael telling me about him traveling to Brazil and to Antarctica and to Asia and Australia. And he was like, this is an amazing experience. He was like, you're a good singer. Like, you should try out sometime. This is I think it was my freshman year. He was telling me about this. And I was like, oh, like, we'll see what happens. You know, you never know. Then it came time, and it was an audition process. All the rising seniors, they decided to take a year off. And I went in and did an audition for about 15 minutes. And at the time, I didn't tell anyone I was doing it because I didn't want to, change anything. Like, if I got in, I would figure it out. But if I didn't get in, nothing happened. So I think I only told my boy Javier, my girlfriend at the time, that I was going in. And then I auditioned, and they called me on the Sunday, and they said I was in. And I didn't really know what that meant, but I did know I was probably going to have to take the year off of school. So I will go into my coach's office, and I'm like, look, Coach Jones, like, I got into the Whiffenpoofs, or an article came out in the school newspaper that, like, a basketball player got into the Whiffenpoofs. And I was like, oh, like, this is not really, I didn't know this was going to be like a big deal. And he's like, so what's this all about? And I told him I had to take the year off of school. And he was like, can you, postpone it for a year? Because we were really highly touted to win the league. We had just come off a pretty good season. And all the guys that I came in with were going to be seniors, and it was going to be a really, really cool situation. We had a great chance to go to the NCAA tournament. And I told him I couldn't. And I kind of just, regurgitated the same pitch that he gave me when he recruited me, just like, Yale affords you amazing opportunities that you'll, never be able to pass up. Like, you should definitely, you need to come to this university because that's what Yale is all about. So I said that to him, and he didn't have anything to say back. So took the year off of school, ended up traveling domestically with the group, and then we did a world tour over a 3-month period of time. We went to 24 countries through Europe, Asia, Australia, Africa. We had every continent other than Antarctica, unfortunately. So I still got to get there someday.
so it really kind of in some ways prepares you for, what we'll talk about in a little bit about you being overseas.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, again, exposure, man. I think that's been like the mantra of my life. Just being able to travel, and also really not having the means to have done it before, because my family, we don't come from a lot of money. And so it was just a really cool situation, and airfare and our lodging was all paid for. So, we just had to bring some money for food, and a lot of times we were singing for our supper. So it was just a cool way for me to, add the musical portions of my life along with basketball. And that's something I've always tried to do from high school, being at Stratford High, being a part of the theater, and also starting an a cappella group there, and then going to Choate, being a part of their all-male a cappella group on campus. So it's a really, really, really dope situation. And I was really happy that I was able to kind of bring it all together and bring it to fruition.
I've always believed if you have a chance to go out, like if, for example, if you're in Connecticut and you have a bunch of, even if you don't play sports, if you have a chance to
Mm-hmm.
go outside the state. If you have a chance to
Yeah.
in California, go play it in California. If you have a chance to go out like you did, being able to go to different countries, go to different countries, because it's good to be able to see different cultures, see different perspectives, and especially because of the climate that we're in now between the
Oh,
pandemic
yeah.
and with the movement that's going on. I think being able to see a different perspective, different discussions, I think is what's needed.
Yeah, no question, man. I think a lot of the reason why we have so many issues because we're not exposed. And it's hard to have any experience with the things that we're unaware of or we're unexposed to, because a lot of our opinions are made through how the media projects certain people, certain ideas, certain foods, certain cultures, et cetera, et cetera. So, for me, it was really, really an amazing experience. And now I have friends from all over the world. So I'm able to travel. I'm actually in England right now, which is, really awesome. And that's just a testament to some of the relationships I've been able to make, and also understanding how to maintain those things, and understanding that there's life outside of Bridgeport and outside of Connecticut. And as you said before, it's just so important to travel as much as you can, and traveling the right way, and not just having, the super American touristy experience, like really getting into the nitty gritty and meeting folks where they're at. I think that builds some character and definitely exposes you to some things, both good and bad.
You had a fantastic time, I'm sure, being able to go to different countries, but I'm sure you did not touch a basketball much, if at all. So how difficult was it going into your final year at Yale, as far as, because you hear about certain players as far as like LeBron when he was injured last year, and then it was like,
Hmm.
oh, he's going to be able to come back. How long is it going to take him? Well, he's fantastic. It took him like a quarter and he was fine. For everybody else who's actually human, it takes a little bit longer. So for yourself, how long did it take you to get back to the basketball game again?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the conversation I had with Coach Jones, I told him that I'd be ready, quote unquote, like to go when I came back.
Best I can.
And yeah, right, exactly. And so I remember talking to my coach, assistant coach, Coach Kingsley, and we would just check in all the time. And I would go to LA Fitness when I didn't have any singing to do, or if I had free time, just to get the work in, trying to maintain some sort of bodily form. I mean, honestly, it kind of prepped me for this period of time in quarantine where the gyms weren't necessarily available to me, but I still found a way to get the work in. So, I mean, we were in Cambodia one time. We looked up a gym on Google Maps, went over, we got a free workout in. If we were staying in a hotel with a gym, we were always in the gym, me and a couple of my whiff and poof mates. So I found ways to get the work in. And when I came back, my coaches were really cool about just kind of reintegrating me into everything that was taking place with the game. And they just really wanted me to be ready for Ivy League season. So, by that time we were rolling. But before then, it took me probably, I don't know, like a month and some change to really get acclimated and back into everything that was going on.
You should have definitely been doing the whiff and poops during your freshman, sophomore, and junior years.
I know, man. I know.
Your senior year, you hit 40 consecutive field goals, 9 for 9 against Brown, 7 for 7 against Penn, 8 for 8 against Princeton, and then 5 for 5 against Columbia. It's like, imagine if you were doing that for all 4 years, you probably would have
Man,
on your career.
that's the crazy thing too. Actually, I was actually, before that streak, I was really, really discouraged because I was not hitting shots. We played a D3 team before that streak started, and I was tricking layups left and right. And I just remember being like, yo, like, what is going on with you, bro? Like, maybe this will be like the last year you play basketball ever again. And then after that period of time, the streak kind of started, and it was just a magical little run that I had there. But again, testament to my teammates to set me up, put me in the right positions, and I just had to, finish it off. There are a couple of shots that I remember during that streak. Like, I shot a floater that kind of rolled around the rim and then went in. I had like a couple of tough shots that are probably ill-advised, but it just ended up being a really, really cool situation. So
You always hear about that. As far, I don't know if you're a baseball fan, but I'm a huge baseball fan. And I've heard from so many starting pitchers or even relief pitchers, oh, my stuff was terrible in the bullpen. I mean, I couldn't even right. But then once I hit the mound, it was like, boom.
Perfect game.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It was like, I've heard pitchers who threw perfect games from all levels, high school, college, pro, minor league, whatever, that had terrible stuff in the bullpen. And I think that goes to show it doesn't matter how you look in practice. I mean, it does to a certain degree. I'm not saying it doesn't. You can only take so much of that to heart, because then you have to realize once you're under the lights, it's completely different.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I think some guys fold under pressure. I think some people shine under pressure. It's different for everyone. I think the preparation just has to keep coming in, and confidence. A lot of these games, every sport really is just based on confidence, repetition. And so, some people can get really discouraged really easily if they think things aren't going down the way that they want them to. And some people are like, even if I'm off, I know that I prepared, and I put in all the work and effort to be ready, and it just didn't work out that day. But like the perfect game situations, those are incredible to me, because like that's super hard.
Oh, it's ridiculously hard. I mean, in college, there's only been 31 perfect games.
You're kidding me?
Yeah, there's been 31.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, there was a kid who threw one from Duke. He was drafted in the first round, Bryce Jarvis. He threw one this year.
Wow.
It was his second.
Wow.
It was his second to last start, And then in his final
That's crazy.
right? And then his last start, right before everything was closed down, I think he threw like 6 or 7 shutout innings. So, not bad. Not bad for him.
That's insane, man. That's insane.
Yeah, right?
That's
But
insane.
back to you in basketball because that's why we're here. You had a
Okay, yeah.
senior year, 12, you averaged 12 points per game, 7 rebounds. We talked about how you didn't miss a shot. And then obviously, the season ended, your career ended at Yale. But then you decided to go play overseas. I know
Hmm.
for some players it's not for everybody. Some have to stay where they are because of their maturity, like we talked
Hmm.
about earlier. Why for you did you feel like it was the right time to go overseas?
Well, I just thought it was, I still had passion for the game. Thought it was able-bodied. Um, I knew that it was something I really wanted to do. It was always a dream that I had as a kid, and I wanted to play in a really cool country. And so, like, I didn't really know where I was going. My first year, I left in October, as opposed to leaving in, August, when a lot of guys do for their seasons, do preseason. And I remember when I left, I knew that I was going to be able to integrate myself into the culture and the society because I had already had experience from traveling. Um, so it just made my time abroad a lot more fun. It made me a lot more chill when I was meeting new people and experiencing new things. I was way more open than I think a lot of people would have been if it was their first time being overseas. So um, all those things just added to the experience, made me a lot more chill.
Brandon, it's been great to be able to have you on. I know I only have you on for a couple more minutes, and I could talk to you forever, man. I really do
No,
appreciate.
no, it's a pleasure.
I could really, I really appreciate Coach Powell being able to tell me about you because anybody he's told me between you, he told me about the football coach at Benell, Coach
Oh yeah, yeah,
Kai Jenkins. He's been filtering me a lot of good people, so
that's awesome.
I trust him. He's a good guy.
That's my guy. That's my guy. Shout out to DP.
So I really want to hit on this as well before I let you go because I feel like
Hmm.
you deserve an opportunity. You're currently a free agent right now. What are the
Yep.
chances as far? I know you probably can't speak about teams and signings and such, but
Hmm.
what are the chances that you'll be able to hopefully play whenever this pandemic concludes and you can play basketball again?
Yeah, I think it'll be likely. I think I have played well enough this past year and also years prior to kind of show my resume, and it'll
Mhm.
be attractive to teams, especially in Italy, so they know what I can do. A lot of times, how it works is, guys who have played in certain leagues have a reputation, and as long as things go pretty smoothly, they can always come back because coaches know what they bring to the table. They're kind of in the system, quote unquote. So that recruiting process is very helpful for guys like me. So I played in Italy for the last 4 years, been in the same league for the last 4 years, and I found different opportunities in different cities. So I think it's pretty likely that I'll find another team. It will probably be in Italy again, but who knows? Maybe it'll be in Israel, France. My agent talking to me about different situations, but we'll have to see. I mean, the financial struggles of a lot of these teams are going to be at the forefront because some teams might not be able to play with fans. So that'll be really difficult for the ones that focus on fan revenue and ticket sales to drive uh, their ability to pay players and staff and to, I don't know, put the heat on, do all these other things that they need to do. So overseas basketball is going to take a big hit. I also think the regulations in different countries are going to look differently. Like Italy right now is still coming out of the economic struggle and also like the complete stop that they had earlier in the summer. America's reopening and maybe prematurely, but people are out and about. It just goes on and on. Spain, France, that's all going to look different over time. So I'm hoping that by the end of August or September, these leagues will start up again.
Mhm.
And hopefully there won't be any major shifts in the amount of cases or, spikes in cases. And hopefully people can come to some level of calm. So I'm confident that I'll be able to find a team, and I'm just excited for the next opportunity. But this period of time has really made me itch to play, and I've been really trying to stay in shape by doing a bunch of different workouts like that aren't necessarily basketball because there aren't a lot of courts and there are a lot of hoops that are holed up in Connecticut from different parks. But I'll be ready when the time comes.
Brandon, I wish you nothing but the best of luck, and hopefully you can find a team. And I'll make you a promise: whenever you get signed by a team, you come back on this show, and we'll give you the credit that you deserve, man. Because I feel like you're one of the
Awesome.
people in Connecticut. I know you're overseas, but you're still a Connecticut kid at heart. I feel
Thank
like
you.
you deserve that opportunity, and people deserve to see that there are talents in Connecticut who are doing great things, even beyond the basketball court. as we talked about earlier, for an a cappella group.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
But Brandon, thank you again for being able to come on. You're welcome. Like I said, come back on anytime you want.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Chris.
I'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, as always, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.